Hi, everyone. I'm a team leader responsible for debriefing task G for you, and mainly just going through what task G was all about, what the task was exactly looking for, and at the end, we'll just go through the specimen example on the do's and don'ts of how to be competent at the end of the day. Let me share my screen. So just a quick one from a task G debriefing perspective. Let's just go through the pre-release. The task G was all about the power purchase agreement to be entered into with Green Sky, and the likely duration of the PPA was 15 to 25 years. Negative triggers there was not to research the solar industry, and no accounting or tax implication will be required. From a pre-release perspective, I think your more or less your likely task would have been the key factors to consider the reproposal or the review of a capital budget or a proposal. From an information of the day, what did you get? Voila, you got the NPV workings, and the task require you to review the workings and identify if you had any errors or omission. The second required there was to identify the key issues to be investigated or negotiated prior to entering into a PPA. It was explicit also not to redo the calculation. You really had to understand the NPV and be able to pick up those errors or omissions. And the task was highly predictable, but I think there was no way you'll be able to prepare the answer around the NPV and the issues you could have. But I think from an information perspective, you also needed the NPV workings. If we just go through the NPV calculations and errors, one of the errors is the question specifically said there will be a degradation throughout the years from year one. So, and you see from a calculation that the system, the calculation omitted the degradation of the system. So that's one error you could pick up. Another error you could, or another consideration you could do is the power savings that is included today. Is it appropriate or not? Another thing you can have a look at is on the calculation, you see income tax implication. Have they taken that into account? And then another error to have a look at is discount rate appropriate? They're using cost of debt. Is it correct to use the cost of debt from an NPV or a project perspective? If we moving into the key issues, looking at the agreement itself, I think the credibility and the track record of Green Sky should be taken into account. Assurance that it will fulfill its mandate. Does Green Sky have resources to perform this? The guarantee about the reliability and functionality of the system. Environmental assessment, is environmental assessment done? The likely city power rates in the future, will we be locked into the pricing? And if in the future the PV of the cost decline, what's going to happen? Do we have, can we negotiate that? Or at the quoted price firm, or could this fluctuate depending on exchange rate or supplier codes changing? What is the timing around installation? Who is responsible? Who is the responsibility to ensure against damage of the solar? Your usage there is, what is the usage exactly? Because I think the question is giving us 1.1. And from a research perspective, I think 0.9 is, so just, looking at that. Also, the average usage per school, researching that. So from a task G perspective, I think this question was really, if you understood your NPV, you understood your PPA agreement and what to look out for, I think it will be easy to maneuver around this question. I'm now going to take you through the limited competency example, just for you to look at things that we should be considering. Remember the task said we need to look at omission and errors on the NPV, and the second one was the key consideration. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share. Let's share this one. Okay, let's share specimen. Task, yes. Specimen task G. Okay, let's go through it. Remember, the first one was evaluating the NPV. Let's just see what this candidate is giving us. Just introducing them, talking about the proposal. But from a review of the NPV calculation, this example give us, the first one just saying that the calculation does not take into account what will happen at the end of the agreement, meaning are we extending or buying? So that's the first consideration that they have there. The second consideration was the calculation that assumes city power traffic incremental rate will reduce over time, questioning if that is reasonable or not. Okay, so let's just go through it again. From the PowerPoint we just went through, or from the information that we just went through, just sit back and think about it. We were looking for, there was a discount there that was incorrect. They're using cost of debt. They should maybe think about questioning the discount rate used to PV the cash flow, probably a weighted average capital cost of capital is something that you could use there. The tax, the taking into account the tax, there's nothing there. There's a lot that is wrong with the NP calculation, and I guess this candidate only picked up one around the city power traffic. The key issues there, the first issue is just around the output proposed by Green Sky might be excessive, and we need to find out if they cannot offer less than that. What is the maximum utilization of middle school? It's a lot. Hey? The first is a lot. I think the proposal is 498,950. We can question it, but I think that's what we're looking for. The second one is just around what option do they provide at the end of the PPA. Generally, PPAs will allow the option to extend to purchase, or yeah, that's fine. I think we can give that. Do they offer offsite PPAs? That will mean less infrastructure, or like the third point for me, I think we needed more there to literally understand what do they mean by that. The next point is on the exit of the contract. In the event we no longer want to take part in it, yeah, we can give that. Do we negotiate the exit clause there? The second one, we can explore other alternatives of smart energy. I guess it's something to consider. But I think what's wrong with this specimen example is the task specifically went through, sorry about that, went through ask for you to look at the NPV and pick out the omission and errors, if any. And that was light. That was very, very, very light. And I mean, it's quite important that when you're looking at an NPV and you ask to look at if we have omission or there's something wrong there, that you're able to pick up those issues. I mean, they could have here, they could have the tax, they could have the discount rate, they could have the degradation of the system, which is not there. I mean, there's a lot of things that they could have, but they don't have. So from a task perspective, this candidate really showed limited competencies for us. And that's why they were, so it's very, very important to take into account the information on the day and use it wisely so that you're able to answer the question. Let's look at what a competent candidate would look like. I don't know if this is sharing the right thing. Let's see. Okay. If we look at the competent candidate here, the candidate here talks about, okay, so again, I'm going to remind you of the required, your omission or incorrect on the NPV and the key consideration. This candidate immediately picks up that the text is incorrect, that your discount rate also, you can't use the cost of capital, instead use the work and adjust it for the risk, for Argos risk, which is very good. They also pick up on the degradation of the system that has been omitted from the calculation. So from a NPV calculation, this candidate actually, from information on the day, they were able to look at the NPV and say what's wrong with that, and they're able to pick up the errors. From a key consideration, they've picked up that, I mean, we need to look at the cost of if we need to replace the panel after 20 years, like what is the cost looking like? Also, we should be negotiating upfront the terms of renewal option or the discount that we should be having after 20 years. We should also, I mean, they look at, do Green Sky have other competitors that we can look to offer better deals than they're having? Like it's investigating around this contract and be able to come up with this point. Another one is just around the maintenance of operational costs, to say, are they limited in a certain way? And such as if they hire, who covers the cost? This is a really good point. Also, I mean, they go and saying there is no mention that to the possibility of purchasing this at the end of the term. Currently, we just will not be adding value to our property since we don't have the right to the solar power. Green Sky will own that. So they're thinking about that. The next one is, if we have excess capacity, can we sell that? Which is a very good point. And also saying this could actually be beneficial or generate a source of income for us. This is quite good. Then the next one is saying what happens if Green Sky does not provide power as promised. Like, do we have recourse also on delays? Do we need to put a clause in there to make sure that this is covered? This is quite good. Also now, if there are issues with maintenance that needs to be done, what is the guarantee on the turnaround time? So this is quite good, guys. This is really a solid C, or a competent candidate just looking at the question and being able to come up with exactly what the task was asking. I mean, they were able to answer the first required, and they hitting the points and also the second required. So this is exactly what we were looking for. From this solid C, I mean, if this candidate had taken this further and talked about, I mean, the options, I mean, they did mention like your renewable options after, but if they just went further around, recommends that we should model what the project NPV may be if we purchase the system and operated the purchase and the operated system, and compare the two to Greenscone, what would that be? Also, just also another point that they could have mentioned to take this further from a solid C, just around discussing that Midrand School, because Midrand School is the one that's looking for this PPA agreement, to say they're in a financial difficulties and entering into a 20-year contract. It's a significant commitment. So it's like also taking it further, like also, I mean, suggesting that you want to be negotiating for lower charges should the solar power decline in the future. So if this candidate have had like additional 3 points that I just mentioned, this could have been an HC, highly competent candidate from my perspective. But this is like a well done response from a solid answering of a task G. I think we have come to the end of just looking at task G and what to look for, and what a limited candidate looks like, what a C candidate looks like. I really hope when going through this video, you'll be able to pick up those important issues that you need to pick up, and this will prepare you for the next APC. Thank you.